It all began on a warm Sunday afternoon, the kind where sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows and laughter echoes in marble hallways. I was clearing the table after a family brunch when Eleanor, my mother-in-law, leaned in close. Her voice dripped with honeyed concern, but her words were poison. "Claire," she said softly, adjusting the diamond bracelet on her wrist, "let's not drag this out. You need to leave my son." I froze, the silverware in my hands suddenly feeling heavier than ever. Across the room, my husband, Daniel, laughed at something his father had said, utterly oblivious to the bomb Eleanor had just dropped in our kitchen. "You've had your fun," she continued smoothly, her practiced smile curling her lips into a condescending smirk. "But let's be realistic, you're not the right fit for our family. No prestigious background, no valuable connections. A woman like you only holds a man like Daniel back." Her words weren't new. I'd heard them before, disguised as subtle jabs about my upbringing or veiled insults about my lack of sophistication. But today there was no pretense. Today, she wasn't hiding behind careful wording. This was an ultimatum. "Don't look so surprised, dear," she added, her tone almost pitying. "Daniel will remarry. We'll find someone more suitable for him, someone with the right family, the right class. You understand, don't you?"
Ah, yes.
That was it. This wasn't just an insult, it was a plan. Eleanor had decided my time was up. She expected me to crumble, to pack my bags quietly while she handpicked a replacement wife for her precious son. I smiled. Not the defeated smile she anticipated, but one that should have made her uneasy. "I understand perfectly," I said, turning away without another word. Leaving her standing there, confused by my lack of resistance, I walked out of the room. What she didn't know, and what would soon destroy her carefully constructed schemes, was that the house she adored showing off to her friends wasn't Daniel's. It was mine. The thriving business she dismissed as my little project had far surpassed anything Daniel had ever achieved. And the money she spent so effortlessly? It came from the empire I had built from scratch. Eleanor thought she had won. She had no idea she had already lost. That night, I didn't tell Daniel about his mother's little suggestion. I didn't have to. While Eleanor schemed to push me out, she remained blissfully unaware that she was standing in a mansion that belonged to me. Literally. Every inch of it, from the marble countertops to the sprawling gardens, was purchased before we were even married. In my name. With my money. I had allowed Daniel to play the role of provider because it suited him, and because it amused me to watch Eleanor prance around, believing her son had provided this life for us. In reality, his paycheck barely covered the property taxes. It was all mine. And the moment Eleanor declared me disposable, she sealed her own fate. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor grew bolder. She dropped hints to Daniel, sugarcoating her disdain with faux concern. "Claire just doesn't understand our lifestyle, sweetheart," she cooed during one particularly awkward dinner. "Wouldn't you be happier with someone who truly fits in?" It's not her fault, of course. She was raised differently. But let's be realistic here. Daniel, oblivious as ever, laughed off her comments, never suspecting the storm brewing beneath the surface. Then came the final push. One evening, I overheard a hushed conversation between Daniel and his mother in the next room. "She's not right for you," Eleanor urged. "You've given her enough. It's time to move on. And then the kicker, if you divorce her now, I'll make sure you walk away with everything." I nearly laughed out loud. Oh, Eleanor. She thought she had power over me. She had no idea that night, as I lay beside Daniel, I realized something important. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised. I was amused. Because the truth was, they had already lost. They just didn't know it yet. The first crack in Daniel's perfect world came the next morning at breakfast. He sat across from me, scrolling through his phone with distracted ease, completely unaware of the battle his mother had set in motion. "You're quiet today," he mused, glancing up briefly. "Everything okay?" I smiled. "Everything's perfect." Because I had made my decision. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't even going to fight. I was going to let them win. Or, at least let them think they had. By mid-afternoon, I received the first text. It was from Eleanor. Daniel and I had a lovely lunch today. He agrees it's time to move forward. Time to move forward. Ah, so she thought she was already in control. I took a sip of wine, letting the message sit unanswered for a while. I wanted her to feel confident. Overconfident. 2 hours later, another message arrived. I hope you understand, Claire. This is what's best for everyone. I chuckled. Best for everyone? No, Eleanor. It was only best for you. But I played my part. I understand perfectly. She must have nearly dropped her champagne flute. I imagined her delight, probably calling her friends to gloat about how effortlessly she had removed me from her son's life. Oh, Margaret, I whispered to myself, shaking my head. You truly have no idea. That evening, Daniel arrived home later than usual. He hesitated in the doorway, as if weighing his words. Hey, babe, he started nervously. Can we talk? Of course, I said, sitting down on the couch. He rubbed his hands together, a nervous tic I knew all too well. Finally, he spoke. I think we should separate. I tilted my head, pretending to process his words. Oh, why is that? It's just, we want different things, he explained, using the same rehearsed lines every cheater and coward has used since the dawn of time. Who's we? I asked casually. A flicker of discomfort crossed his face. He wasn't used to me being so calm. He had probably expected tears, anger, some kind of outburst. But all I did was smile. If that's what you want, Daniel, I said smoothly. He blinked. Wait, you're not upset? Why would I be? I asked. You've already made up your mind. I stood up, walked into our bedroom, grabbed a suitcase, and placed it on the bed. I'll give you some space, I said. I'll stay somewhere else for a while. The look on his face was priceless. Claire, wait. I didn't mean you have to leave tonight, but I was already packing. Let him think I was hurt. Let him think I was heartbroken. Let him think he was in control. Little did he know, I was leaving him exactly where his mother had wanted him, completely free. But freedom, as they say, comes at a cost. And it was about to cost them everything. I stayed at a luxury hotel that night, the same one Eleanor had once bragged about hosting charity events in. The irony was almost poetic. I ordered champagne, sat by the window overlooking the city skyline, and enjoyed the quiet. Tomorrow, Eleanor would wake up believing she had won. Daniel would believe he was moving forward, unburdened by me. But by the time they discovered what they had truly lost, it would already be too late. Around 10 a.m., I received a text from Daniel. Claire, we need to talk. Something's wrong with the house. I didn't reply. By noon, another message came through. Why is the bank saying my name isn't on the mortgage? Call me. There it was. It had taken him less than 24 hours to realize what he had truly lost. But I wasn't done yet. I let the messages pile up, watching his confusion turn to frustration, then panic. At 3 p.m., my lawyer sent me a simple text. He called. He's realizing the truth. Let me know when you want to respond.
Not yet, I replied.
Let him stew. The following evening, I met them at the house, the one Eleanor had once loved calling their family estate. Daniel was already waiting in the driveway, arms crossed, pacing nervously. Eleanor stood beside him, her carefully polished poise beginning to crack. Claire, Daniel said as I stepped out of the car, we need to talk. Do we? I asked, walking toward them with slow, deliberate steps. Yes. Eleanor snapped.
There's been a mistake.
The bank is saying this house is in your name. That's not a mistake, I replied smoothly.
Silence.
Eleanor blinked, as if trying to comprehend words she had never imagined hearing. But that doesn't make sense, Daniel stammered, desperation creeping into his voice. I thought you thought we owned it together. I tilted my head. Daniel, this house was never yours. Eleanor's face drained of color. No, she sputtered. That's not possible. That's reality. I finished for her. Daniel stared at me, shaking his head. But we lived here together. And I let you. You let me? I interrupted, raising an eyebrow. No, Daniel. I let you. A beat of silence. Then Eleanor did what she always did when things didn't go her way. She got angry. This is ridiculous, she spat, her voice rising. You are nothing without my son. You had nothing before him. I had everything before him, I corrected, my voice calm and steady. And I still do. Daniel exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through his hair. Realization was beginning to dawn. Claire, he said, his voice softer now, let's talk this through. Maybe we can work something out. I smiled. Oh, Daniel. We already did. That's why you signed a prenup. Eleanor gasped. Daniel froze. And just like that, I watched their world shatter. In the months that followed, I reclaimed my life, not just financially, but emotionally. Eleanor and Daniel tried desperately to salvage what they had destroyed, but it was futile. Without me, Daniel struggled. His job performance plummeted, and when Eleanor stormed into his office demanding a promotion, HR fired him instead. Their reputation crumbled under the weight of Eleanor's meddling. Meanwhile, I thrived. My business expanded, my confidence soared, and I surrounded myself with people who genuinely valued me. On the one-year anniversary of my new life, I hosted a small gathering at my flagship boutique. Among the guests was Melissa, the young woman Eleanor had once paraded around as a better option for Daniel. I owe you an apology, Melissa said softly, approaching me near the entrance. I believed her. I believed you were the problem. But now I see what she did to Daniel, and what she could have done to me. I nodded, offering her a small smile. You're lucky, I said. You got out before it was too late. As the night ended, I stepped outside and looked up at the city skyline. The same skyline I had gazed at on the night Daniel left me. Back then, I had been preparing for a battle. Now, I had already won, not because I had taken revenge, but because I had taken my life back. Eleanor once told me I wasn't good enough for her family. And in the end, she was right. I wasn't good enough for them. I was better.